Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Laurie and it's been a hot minute since I did a physical TBR video. So here is my updated physical TBR. Now, pulling off these books off the shelf was embarrassing to say the least. There is so many books and I guarantee you a lot of them were books that were in my last physical TBR video. Yeah, I don't think I made that much of a dent as I thought I did. And there are even more books that have been added since. So we're gonna go through it. Yeah, crazy. This is gonna be a long one. Okay, I'm gonna go into this in no particular order and let's just dive right in. Rights of Sterling by Devney Perry. This is book 2 in the Shield of Sparrows series. I don't know how many books are predicted to be in this series, but this is a long-awaited, anticipated sequel. Unfortunately, it came at a time when I am in the depth of my Zodiac Academy read, and I've not been able to pick up any other book but this series. It's consumed my life. And I also had the Ballad of Falling Dragons that came out around the same time as this, so obviously I did prioritize the Ballad of Falling Dragons because that book had taken 2 and a bit years to come out, and it was so highly anticipated for me. I could not wait another single moment to pick up that book, so I dived straight in, and then it proceeded to put me in the worst book slump of my life, and I cannot fathom picking up any other fantasy romance books at the moment. And Zodiac Academy just seems to have really cured me from that, but then proceeded to make me utterly addicted that I can't read anything else. So this is a book that I'm planning on reading fairly soon, because I'm very excited to be back in this world and back with these characters. I think I will do a Shield of Sparrows reread as well. Beneath by Ariel Winters. This is the newest dystopian on my TBR and has been absolutely everywhere. Everyone has been raving about how amazing this book is. So I'm very, very excited because I have been loving dystopian books at the moment, but this is on my June TBR. I'm hoping I'm still going to get to it. I mean, we are on the 12th of June. But I do need to finish Zodiac Academy first because I can't read any other book. But I do want to read this very, very soon because I'm very, very excited. And if this is as good as everyone's saying as just a dystopian book, then I think this is going to be one of my favourites. The newest book on my TBR is Light Wielder by Rachel Schneider. This is the sequel to Metal Slinger. I'm really scared, and I've been saying that I'm scared to dive into this book because I heard that it takes place 5 years after the events of Metal Slinger, and I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know how that's gonna work, how it's like, I am so scared because if you've read Metal Slinger, you know that the ending is diabolical, and the fact that this takes place 5 years later, I'm not okay. Like, what does that even mean? What happened to the characters? Like, I have so many questions, and it could be answered in this book, but then I have to wait for book 3, and I'm not ready for that. So I'm putting this off for a little bit. I'm sure I will read it soon. I'm not dying to get into it because I'm just really scared at the moment. Inamorata by Ava Reed. This is another anticipated release for me. This is a gothic fantasy book, and I've heard very mixed things from people. People say that this is very, very gothic, that this was kind of messed up, that they didn't know what they were getting into, and then when they had read it, it was just like absolutely nothing they could have ever imagined. So I'm very, very excited about this. I'm not diving into this thinking it's a fantasy romance. For me, it's just a gothic fantasy, and I think that's the best way to go into this book because I think that is the point of it. It's not really a normal romance book. So I'm very excited about this one, but I just don't know when I'm going to get to it. It does stare at me a lot, and I do want to pick it up, but I don't know. I feel like I need to be in the very, very good reading space to read this book. Fallen City by Adrienne Young. This is her newest release, I think, and it's very small, and I think that's why I haven't picked it up, because the format of this kind of puts me off, and maybe that's weird, but I don't know, it's like a little pocket book, and it's so small. I don't know why it just doesn't make me want to pick it up. For the fact that it's so small makes me feel like this isn't going to be a good book, and that's criminal to be saying that just because of its format, but in my head that's just how it works. So I haven't picked this up yet, but I do want to pick this up. I haven't had anyone talk about it, so I don't know if it's going to be good or not. A Dark Forgetting by Kristen Cesarelli. This is a fantasy romance standalone. This is Kristen Cesarelli's newest works. Now, I really loved Rebel Witch, which has made me even more excited to pick this up because it is new adult, which is kind of what I'm into at the moment. I do love standalones. I have been reading so many standalones at the moment, and I just feel like they're perfect because first of all, I'm not diving into another incomplete series. Second of all, I don't have to deal with a diabolical cliffhanger that's going to just ruin my life, and everything just gets wrapped up in a nice neat bow in standalones, depending on the standalone, I guess. But I'm really looking forward to picking this up. I will pick this up in June at some point. Bonds of Hercules by Jasmine Mas. This is the second book and final book in the Blood of Hercules duology. I can't believe I haven't picked this up. This has been out for a hot minute and I loved Blood of Hercules. It was a fun, good time, and I've been so excited for book 2, and now it's in my hands. I've just been putting off because I don't know who the final love interest is going to be, and I'm kind of scared. I do think this is going to be perfect to read after I read Zodiac Academy because I think it's going to be a little bit more serious in terms of plot than what the Zodiac Academy series world is, apart from Sins of the Zodiac, that's different. But I feel like this is going to be like the perfect book to kind of go from this to then an actual proper fantasy cemented plot book. But I do think I need to reread Blood of Hercules before I dive into this because I remember vague bits. Bloodbound by Elise Hunter. I cannot believe I did not pick this up the moment it was in my hands because I've been hearing such amazing things from ARC readers that I was like, there's no way in which I will not pick this up the second it's in my hands and read what everyone's been hyping about. But then I didn't, and I went to go pick it up literally after reading Ballad of Fallen Dragons, and I was like, I'm not in the right headspace to read this because I think I'm just going to compare it to the Ballad of Fallen Dragons and the way that book made me feel, because it was just so, there was just so much to it, and it's just one of the best fantasy romances I've ever read in my entire life, that I don't think it's fair to compare this to that because they're written in very, very different ways by two very, very different authors. Well, this is a duo author, but I think I'm just going to end up DNFing it or not rating it as well as I would have if I wasn't in that headspace. So I did temporarily put it down, but I am hoping to pick it up very soon. I just don't think it will be this month. Crowns of Olympus by Kate Asher. This is book 1 in the Hades Trials. I love Greek mythology book. You tell me that there's a fantasy romance book that's based in Greek mythology, I'm instantly picking it up because I eat that shit up so hard. The last Greek mythology book I read that I adore and I still think about to this day is The Games Gods Play. That book made my head explode, how utterly surprising it was that I loved it as much as I do. And I'm just, book 3 cannot come soon enough. November needs to be around the corner because I love that book so freaking much. And so in the meantime, I'm just trying to fill that hole that that book has left me, and this seems like a really good candidate. And yeah, it's Greek mythology based. I always will reach for that. The most shocking book on my TBR that is absolutely diabolical, that I haven't read yet, is the 4th and final book in A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly. That series was so freaking amazing and I just binged the entire thing, and the fact that I've had book 4 in my hands for months now and have not read it is insane. I could not tell you why that is the case, but I haven't read it yet. It's been on TBRs. It's been on so many TBRs and I keep saying that I'm going to read it that month and then I just never do. I think the biggest excuse that I have is I really feel like more books need to have recaps in their books, and I am so passionate about this because I don't always have time to reread the first 3 or 4 books, however many books there are in the series, to then be able to read the newest release. And I have said this on TikTok and a lot of people do agree that when you have big time jumps between series' release, you know, having a recap just saves time so that we can get into the next book as soon as possible, because with the amount of books that come out, it's not possible to reread all these books and still be able to catch up on our TBR. So I think that is my biggest problem. I don't want to reread the first 3 books as much as I loved it. I don't have the time to reread the first 3 books. I just have so many books on my TBR that I'm so excited to get to that I just want to be able to read this and then read those. So this is a petition for authors and publishers to please put recaps in books, especially because releases take a year plus to come out, and I'm not complaining about the time frame of that. I would rather a book be done well than it be rushed, and I'm absolutely all for authors taking the time to make the book as good as they possibly can before releasing it. Just put a recap in there, just a short 1-2 pages of what happened in the last couple books. Yeah, that's it. Feathers So Vicious by Liv Zander. This is a dark fantasy romance duology, and I think it is complete. I love dark fantasy romances, and I've read so many dark fantasy romances in the last 2 years. I've discovered a serious love for dark fantasy romances, so I always like to have 1 or 2 on the TBR for when that craving hits, and so this is on the TBR. I've had it for a little while now, but there've just been so many dark fantasy romances that I've been really excited to that this kept getting pushed. And I think, bar one, this is the only dark fantasy romance left on my TBR. The other one is the second book in a duology, so it doesn't really count. To Flame a Wildfire by Sarah A. Parker. This is the 3rd book in To Bleed a Crystal Bloom series. I know why I haven't read this, and it's a totally valid reason. The releases between these books has been so long, like years between releases, and this has been out for like 2 years now, maybe longer. Yeah, this came out in 2023, and we do not yet have the 4th book, and I totally understand, you know, she's been concentrating on When the Moon Hatched, and that series is so fucking amazing that I'm more than happy to wait. But I haven't picked this up because I think I'm just waiting now for the series to be wrapped up so I can read each and every book. They are being republished traditionally, so I have the first 2 books, and I think To Flame a Wildfire is coming out in the next couple months, so I'm hoping that then means the 4th book will come out after that, but I don't know what the time frame is, because she also has the 3rd book, the 3rd and final book in the When the Moon Hatched trilogy, so I don't know if that's going to be the priority because that's the most popular series that she has, but I do love this series. Deathbringer by S.A. Barnes. This was my April romantasy, my April Fairy Loot romantasy book pick. I feel like this is going to be a book that's perfect for a 24-hour TBR, 24-hour readathon, to be quite honest, because it looks fairly short and it looks like something I could just breeze through so easily. I don't predict this to be 5 stars or anything, so I'm not super excited to read it, but I do think it'd be one of those books I could read in a 24-hour readathon and just absolutely fly through. Verity Guild by Mia Cortland. This was May's Fairy Loot romantasy book box pick and is on my June TBR. I am very, very excited to read this. I'm really looking forward to it. I've never read anything by this author before, but I've heard really good things about her other series, 5 Broken Blades, which is something that I was eyeing up, but it just seemed really hard to find in the UK, to be quite honest, or maybe they just was always sold out, I don't know. But I am really looking forward to reading this. I do think I will also read this in June or at least early July, because the book is absolutely freaking stunning. Like, just look at this hardcover. Like, it's so stunning. So I do really want to pick this up fairly soon. And I'm trying to get better at reading my Fairy Loot book picks as soon as they're in my hand. The Mist Thief by L.J. Andrews. This is the 2nd duology set in the World of the Eversea series. I haven't read this yet because I'm waiting for the Stolen Crown to be closer to the release before I read this book. I love the Eversea series. I'm obsessed with interconnected duologies. I think it's the best way to have as many books in a world while also having plots that are different and stand out and being able to explore different characters and getting to see more of the world. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. I know exactly who this is about and what the romance is going to be, but I'm so excited about the plot for this book because it was set up in the Ever Queen, which is the 2nd book in the first set of duologies. So yeah, I'm literally just waiting for the Stolen Crown to be closer to release, which is fairly soon, to be fair. And then next is Heir of Twisted Lies by L.J. Andrews. This is the 2nd book in the Broken Souls and Bones series. I think this is a completed duology now. I don't know. What really annoys me is that this is not made to be clear that this is the 2nd book. Like, when I picked this up in the series, when I picked this up in Waterstones when I was browsing, I was like, oh, she has a new book released. And then when I searched it on my phone, I was like, oh no, this is the second book in the Heir of Broken Bones and Souls, which I have the Fairy Loot edition, so I didn't know what the traditional edition looked like. But no point in any of this does it say that it's the second book, and if it's a duology or series. But either way, I am planning on reading this at some point. I do need to reread Heir of Broken Souls and Bones, but I think I'm going to read this, like, I'm going to read this and then I'm going to dive into the Eversea series so I can stay within her writing, because I really love the way she writes books. Fairy Loot is what introduced me to her writing, and ever since then I've been loving all her books, so I'm very, very excited to dive back in. The Ascended by Greenwich and Lennox. This is their newest release. I haven't picked this up because I want the second book to come out, to be quite honest, because I've heard that people were dying over the cliffhanger of this book, and I really want to reread Riftborn, but I just want to reread the entire trilogy before I dive into this, because although this is set within the same world, I believe this is set in the past or something, and this is a duology, so I think I'm just waiting for the whole thing to wrap up. And it's being traditionally released, which means there's whole new editions of this, and I think I want to read the traditionally published editions of these books, so I'm just waiting for those to come out before I read it. Oh my lord, so many books. Blood of the Lost Gods. This is book 2 in Jessica J. Ayler's A Dusk and Dawn series. I read this years ago, absolute years ago, and I cannot remember anything that happened in these books. So I need to reread book 1 before diving into book 2. I'm sure that I will dedicate a week to reading book series I'm in the middle of, because I'm in the middle of so many. But I remember really, really liking this, so I am excited to read the second book. Scorched by Reese Sharon. Now, I did start this book and then I temporarily DNF'd it because I had an issue with the writing. It made it really difficult to read when there were mistakes and the writing was just a little bit off, and things just, I had to work hard to understand what was happening because it wasn't written very clearly, and that took me out of the book. I do want to reread it. I really do want to read this, but I think I need to be in a really, really good reading space where I can overlook the mistakes, because it does make it hard to, because it does make it really hard to dive into the books when there are mistakes. When Sisters Collide by S.E. Beauvais. This is the second book after When Gods Fall, and if you haven't read When Gods Fall, you are missing out so much. This is set to be a trilogy, with the third book coming out early 2027, and I probably will read this before the release of the third book. But the reason I didn't pick this up as soon as I finished When Gods Fall is this took 3 weeks to come from Waterstones, and then I was like, should I wait till the third book comes out? And I've been kind of back and forth, but there are recaps in this book which I'm obsessed with. I think S.E. Beauvais, you are a master, because you putting recaps in books just makes so much sense. So now I'm like, I could read this and then just read the recap to dive into book 3, or even reread the books, because I do really, really love the way these are written. So I do think I will read this really soon. But as you can see, it's just an overwhelming TBR. It makes it so hard to pick what I want to read next. An Arcane Study of Stars by Sydney J. Shields. I picked this up on a whim in Waterstones, and it sounded really, really good. So I think this is going to be a book I pick up, I don't know, randomly. I'm a mood reader. I think this is going to be just like a book I randomly decide to read. I think this sounds really interesting and it has so much potential. So I am very excited, and I love books that are set in academia settings. Love it so freaking much. Vesselers by Courtney L. Wind. I haven't picked this up because the second book is not coming out till 2027, and this came out in 2025. And I was like, I'm not going to read this. I'm not going to read this until we get closer to the release of the second book, because I don't want to have to wait 2 years for the release. I did it for When the Moon Hatched. It was painful. I'm not doing it again. So this is still going to be on my TBR for another while yet. The Last Starborn Seer by Venita Constantine. I was really excited because this book is so beautiful, but I then watched someone's reading vlog of this and they ended up DNFing, and because of that, and because we have very similar reading tastes, I was like, oh, there's the potential that I may not like this. So I've not been looking forward to picking this up. I will read this at some point because there could be a, you know, not everyone has exactly the same reading taste, so I could end up enjoying this, but it just tamped down my excitement of picking this up, so I haven't picked this up yet. The Midnight Kingdom by Tara Sim. This is the second book in the Dark Gods trilogy. This is another case of I haven't picked this up because I've been waiting for the third book. This came out, oh my god, this came out so freaking long ago. This came out in 2023. Book 3 has literally only just come out with arcs, so I am waiting for Fairy Loot to do this version of the third book, and then I'm going to reread the entire series, because while I remember vague recollections of book 1, which was like one of my first Fairy Loot adult book boxes, which was like 2022, probably like 2021 to be quite honest. It was years ago. I've just been waiting for book 3 so that I can read the trilogy as complete, and yeah, I'm really excited that the trilogy is almost complete and I will be able to get to dive into this book soon. I'm really looking forward to it. That has been on my TBR for so long. The Primal of Blood and Bone by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I can tell you exactly why I haven't read this yet. There are so many books in the Blood and Ash universe, and while I love From Blood and Ash, this series has gone on for a little bit too long. I thought this was supposed to be the final book, and I was so excited to read it, and I was going to read it as soon as it was in my hand. Then I found out that no, this is not the final book anymore. There is going to be another book that's going to be the final book, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not reading this until the final book is actually out, because I'm not dealing with a cliffhanger. I don't want to have to reread the entire series, just reread it again a year later, and I was kind of pissed off. There was going to be another book, because I just don't understand why there needs to be another book. I don't feel like it's necessary, and I'm kind of scared that there's going to be a lot of filler chapters, which is why there's another book, and that I'm just going to be a bit bored. So yeah, I'm going to read this. I am, because I do love the From Blood and Ash universe. I have all the books. It's one of my, it was like one of my favorite fantasy romances books at that time of my life, and it's become nostalgic to me. But really, another book? I can't, especially with how thick this book is. I mean, it's not that serious. A Flame of the Phoenix by Clarissa Panaranda. This is the final book in the An Heir Comes to Rise series. This took a hot minute to come out, and when this came out, I was like, do you know what? I want to do an entire series reread. There were a lot of books in this series, so because of that, I just haven't had the time to pick up this series again and do a whole reread. I don't know if this has a recap, because maybe I could just read the recap, because I do remember. No, it doesn't have a recap. Yeah, it doesn't have a recap. I do need to reread it, because I know that some really important things happen in the last book, and while I remember the way it ended, I still want to reread it, so that's why I haven't read this yet. And then I also have books 2 and 3 of her spin-off series, which is The Stars Are Dying. I haven't picked this up either, because I just thought I could do an entire universe reread, so that's still my TBR. A Rather Vengeful Accord by Danielle Knight. This was another spur of the moment, picked up in a Waterstones, and now it's going to sit on my TBR for 4 years. I don't know what this is about. The cover really drew me in. It was really reminiscent to me to A Darker Shade of Magic, and I loved A Darker Shade of Magic. Like, that is my favourite V.E. Schwab book, and I would love to read books that are more in line with that, and this feels like it would be. But then I heard a bad review, and I was like, maybe I don't pick this up right now. And then it just sat on my TBR ever since. So yeah, I'm sure I'll read it at some point. A Kiss of Hammer and Flame by Amy de la Force. This is book 1 in Fated for Hell. This is another book that I feel like would be perfect for a 24-hour readathon, or just wanting to read more like very romance-based fantasy romance books. That's what I feel like this is. And ever since I read When the World Falls Down, I hated that book, like with a passion. I hated that book. I've been really scared to read anything kind of in line with that, so I've put this off for so long, but I think I should just read it, to be honest. When did I buy this? No, I bought this last year. Oh dear. Oh, I bought Nightshade at the same time. I love Nightshade. That book is so good. But yeah. Claimed by Fangs in Darkness by Meggie Cesarelli. This is the second book in the Everlasting Possession duology. I love Meggie Cesarelli's writing. I think she writes one of the best dark fantasy romance books. But I love her books. I think her books are the best for just diving into, having the best time, loving the characters, loving the world, reading vampires. But I haven't picked this book up yet because, yeah, I do really need to read this, and I really, really want to read this. The Damned by Harper L. Woods. This is a book I've put off because I don't know if this is the last book. I don't think it's the last book. And I think that's why I haven't picked it up yet, because I was waiting for the next book to come out so that I can reread the entire series, because I fly through these. I fly through these so quickly. I love Harper L. Woods. I think her books are perfect for when I'm not wanting anything too serious, too plot heavy, but still with a good plot, and you know, just more romance than anything else. So I really enjoy her books, and I don't have a good reason why I haven't read this yet. I just haven't. Fallen God by Rachel Van Dyke. I was gifted this by a publisher, and it's got Viking mythology in it, which I love. I love books that are based in any sort of mythology. I recently saw art about this book, and it's really, really, really made me want to read it. So I think I'm going to bump it up the TBR for next month after I've finished all the books I want to read, because I think this is going to be superb, and I love the scene that was set in the art. An Ember in the Ashes, which is a quartet, and Air, which is the spin-off series in this world. I'm ready either. I've got 4 books in this, and then I've got this book, and I keep putting off reading this. I don't know why I keep putting off, but I haven't really felt an overwhelming itch to read this. I'm very much a mood reader, so I just pick up books that are just really feeling my vibe, and this hasn't yet. So I don't know when I'm going to pick this up. I'm hoping soon, because I've heard really phenomenal things about this series and people being so excited about this spin-off series. So I do need to read it soon. Splintered Kingdom by Greenwich Power Fox. This is the second book in the Shattered Crown series. She has the next book coming out fairly soon, so I'm waiting for that to come out to then read this. I also lost my momentum after having read Smoke and Scar. I read one book after that, and then I just never felt the itch to read this one, and it's been on the TBR ever since. I do need to read it. I need to stop being in the middle of so many series. I just need to read it. I'm just not that excited about it. I liked Smoke and Scar. It was good. It wasn't anything mind-blowing. So I haven't been like itching to pick this up. It's just something that I feel like, oh, it's a good book. It's fine, but it's not anything to scream and shout about for me. Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the first book in the interconnected standalone series. I've read books 2 and 3, and I loved those. Like, I rated them very, very highly. I think they were like 4.5 and 5 stars. They absolutely blew my mind, and because of that I was like, let me buy the first book. So I bought this on Vinted, and I now need to read it because I haven't heard as much good things as I have with books 2 and 3, but I also haven't seen people really love and rave about book 3. So I feel like this is something I'm still going to really, really love. So I do want to read this. Next, I have Empire of the Damned and Empire of the Dawn, which is books 2 and 3 in the Empire of the Vampire trilogy. I just haven't been in the mood to read this. I'm really excited. I loved Empire of the Vampire, but I just haven't been in the mood to read this. That's all there is. Will of the Many by James Islington. I've heard phenomenal things about this, but I also really need to read my Brandon Sanderson books. So I haven't read this yet because I need to prioritize Brandon Sanderson, but I haven't been reading my Brandon Sanderson books because I've been really in a fantasy romance place that I don't really feel the itch to pick up a high fantasy right now, but I will at some point. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I think this is a sci-fi. I've had people ranting and raving about the Red Rising series. There are so many books in this series. The only reason I haven't picked this up is because I was waiting for books 2 and 3 to also come out in hardback, because this is the Vault edition. They never did. So I never picked this up because they don't have books in 2 and 3 in the matching edition. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I might try and see if I can find it secondhand from the original editions, but I was just like, well, you're not finishing what you started, and that kind of annoyed me. So yeah, still on TBR. Last 3 books on my TBR. I do have more, but I'm unhauling a lot of them, so I'm not going to count them. I have Eternal Ruin by Tigges Goma. This is the second book in the Immortal Dark trilogy. I'm again waiting for the third book to come out so I can reread the entire thing. I loved the secret societies in here. I loved the vampires in here, and I especially loved the enemies to lovers in here. I think they've still got a journey to go through book 2, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I think book 3 is coming out this year, so I'm going to be able to finally read the entire thing. Broken Dove by Danny Francis. I don't know when I'm going to read this. It's not a priority for me at the moment, although I did really love Silver Elite. I have since read so many better dystopian romance books that it's tamped down my excitement for this, because while I had a good fun time and it was 5-star vibes, it wasn't the best dystopian romance book I've ever read, and so I'd rather read those books than this book, but I will read it fairly soon, but I'm just not that excited about reading it. Last but not least, A Kingdom of Claw by Danny Winters. I read The Road of Bones a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, and it was good. It was fine. There were a couple things that kind of annoyed me, and I did pick up book 2, and I think book 3 is out, but I'm going back and forth on whether reading the series. To be honest, I feel like I should just unhaul this series, because I don't think it's going to be a 5-star series for me. I don't think it's going to be anything that I'm going to really love and want to reread, and I don't think I should waste my time reading book 2 when I don't really love the books that much. And there are just so many other books on my TBR that I'm really excited about. But I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I don't know where I'm going to go with it. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling at the moment with this series. But those are all the books on my physical TBR. I'm sure the next time I do a physical updated TBR video, I'm sure a lot of these books are still going to be on there, because there's just so many. I'm sure there's more I'm missing, but I've got books behind books at this point that I can't go through them all. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. You can find me on all social media as Lauriereadz. I am especially active on TikTok. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.